So this might actually be, and it's kind of crazy thinking about it because Michigan's won the last 2 Joe Moore Awards, but this might actually be Michigan's most talented offensive line. Based on what Harbaugh said, we have 10 guys who could start on pretty much any team in the country. Jim Harbaugh was just said that. So with that said, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that is going to be determined. I think they have the most depth. I would agree with him on that. Oluwatimi was awesome last year. So I'm not going to take anything away from Drake Nugent, who's coming in and, by all accounts, grad transfer from Stanford, he's going to be awesome. And I know that Greg Crippen, they're talking about him, that he could, it's the great, when you have two guys that you think that, could be all Big Ten type centers and things are going well, and bringing Keegan and Zinter back, those guys could be in the NFL, be in training camp right now, playing in the league, and having those guys back, that's huge. So your interior is good. And then they got a bunch of stuff to throw out there at tackle. Barnhart came on in the second half of last year and improved, that he's the real deal. I think the most talented guy, people aren't as excited about him because he gave up a couple sacks. Is Trente Jones, but he's the most athletic guy, and I think he has the most upside as anybody. I don't even know if he's going to start. So yeah, I hear all of that about how good they're going to be. We'll see. They got great depth, great competition, and all that. They could, and I'll go back to what you said a little while ago. It's a Michigan podcast. We're talking in glowing terms about Michigan. It's because they're good. They've got a lot of players. For the first 6 years of Harbaugh's tenure, if you had me on here, you might not like what I was saying. I'd be like, I don't know how they're going to beat Ohio State. Ohio State's in their head. They can't beat them. And there's nobody that knows more about how to beat them than Jim Harbaugh, but they just can't get over the hump. And I don't know what they're doing when they get into bowl games. I'd have been crying and whining, and people had said, hey, you're on a Michigan podcast. Why don't you, brighten up a little bit? But things look good, for Michigan. So, why should you take your foot off the gas if things look good? Mash it down, your right foot to the floor, and let's go.
Yeah, and I understand that there's, we were talking last show. I was talking about, the possibilities of, I kind of predicted that Ladarius Henderson, Miles Hinton, and Carson Barnhart would win those battles. But Trente Jones is going to play. I mean, that Harbaugh runs and Sharon Moore are going to run a lot of 6. There's going to be some jumbo sets with 6, 7 guys on that line. That they're going to do that. So Trente Jones is going to play, even if he doesn't play every combination. They're going to switch it up and probably rotate people out too, especially in those first 4 games. I think you're going to see quite a few different O-line combinations.
Trente won the job last year before he hurt his ankle. So see.
Yeah.
I don't know. Possible. I know Henderson, sure. He's pro prospect. He's great. Coming in from Arizona State, versatile, could play inside, could play outside. A lot of people have him penciled in, but Barnhart really, he looked like he would have been a good, he was a good swing tackle, good guy to have for depth. But the way he played in the back half of the season now puts him into play. And, I don't know about Hinton. So, you want to tell me that those guys are going to be in front of Jones and Barnhart? All right. I think, and Harbaugh already said this, that you're going to see how they had Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy battle out game 1, game 2, kind of a battle royale. You could see 2 different starting tackles in game 1 and game 2, and we'll see. You'd have to see how the competition is going in the training camp, and if it's that close, but it certainly could be. That's obviously one of the position groups to keep an eye on. When you could have 3, 4, 5 different combinations, and who knows which one's going to be the best? I don't.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there was even a quote from somebody, I forget who said, there could be 10 O linemen, a quarterback, and a running back, and let's go. I mean, Like, I mean, I could, if any coach could do that, I could see Harbaugh doing that because he's done some interesting concepts in the past.
Yeah, it was the guy that runs the Senior Bowl. He's was it Jim Nagy, who's in charge of the Senior Bowl. Now he's a Michigan grad, so you go, oh, well, he's a homer. I don't know, maybe he is, but I didn't hear anybody saying like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And then Harbaugh came back and said the same thing. The Harbaugh, what did he say? We got 30 guys, or how many ever he said that can be drafted, and everybody started counting them. It's like, that sounds like a pretty crazy number. But then you're like, okay, Michigan's got a lot of depth. They got a lot of good players. That's why people are high on them. That's why they are set to have a good season. That's why the coaches voted them number 2.
Whoa, Hinton, the Stanford offensive tackle, is now 340 pounds. So yeah, you don't want to be facing up against that guy. You just don't.
Hey, I put on 22, John. What do you want to say about that?
Well, I wouldn't want to face up against that either. So there you go.
No, you would. A good 20. My 20 was not a good 20.
Yeah, I've been trying to go the other direction with working out, personal trainer, all that kind of stuff, and doing my best. But it's hard out there.